What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Webull. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what is really Webull's issue, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Webull is down 0.43%, 905 the low, 942 the high, and about 11.5 million shares being traded. Of that volume though, most is linked to algorithmic trading because on the secondary market, you'll only see one transaction above $100,000, and it was for $470,000, and regrettably it was a sell. So this one institution or transaction did kind of help the push lower and sell off first thing, which wasn't the greatest, but nonetheless, coming from a macro standpoint, there really hasn't been any news or any significant updates. So it is largely the market looking at what happened on Monday as largely being unjustified and kind of buying up the dip. In Webull's case, nothing really crazy is happening. Even coming out from them, no new ratings, no new press releases, SEC filings. So it is just merely at the mercy of the broader market. The bad thing about Webull, as I've kind of alluded to in the past, is that people don't really care for it. And so there was a couple of posts on social media that puts it in a good perspective that a lot of retail, which as what they've mentioned in their last earnings was kind of their primary clientele, retail is using Webull's platform, which is on point, but they use their platform to do research, due diligence, and then they go buy the stock on Robinhood or another like platform. So Webull is just being used, and that is where technically like investors don't benefit from that, right? Webull doesn't actually benefit from that. So this is a execution problem, and this is where when I first started covering Webull, in theory, it wasn't that difficult. They just pretty much had to follow the path of Robinhood, and because they laid the foundation for success among brokers. And Webull, again, could have easily done that, but they decided to mess around a little bit, focus on cryptocurrency, which largely has been profitable, but is still what we've seen now is extremely volatile. So any company really going all in on cryptocurrency, they're feeling it. They're feeling the pain. So institutions don't really want anything to do with Webull. So this is ultimately the issue. And unfortunately, you kind of have to call a spade because it's management. Management is the issue in all of this. And I think ultimately, until we see a new CEO change or a big swap among the executives, you're going to see this same type of crappy price action. And because of that same point, I'm not going to be buying any more Webull whatsoever. I already have a significant position in general, but still, given the lack of innovation and updates coming from the company, I'm not personally buying. So same with institutions, right? Like I said, no institutions really want to touch Webull right now. There's better opportunities. Even quickly going over here, you have Robinhood up 3.7%, SoFi up 2 or now 3.07%. So this is the biggest difference, is just Webull almost on a daily basis continues to lag. So at the end of the day, it is very unfortunate. There can be easy fixes to all this, but it does stem to management making these changes. Let me know your general viewpoint on that in the comments below. Aside from all that fun stuff though, shorts at the time of doing this video, they are returning 202,000 shares. 4.36% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 10.68 million shares overall being shorted. I know I've brought this up on a previous video, but Webull surprisingly has been extremely lucky. And because I cover quite a few different stocks, some that were initially very heavily shorted and kind of branching out and kind of breaking out from that mold. But if shorts ever decided to target Webull and really just double down, Webull would be in a lot of pain. I could realistically see $5-6 if shorts decided to bring this to, let's say, 20% short interest, which SoFi was largely at. They were always at like the 20 to 30% range. Even Robinhood back in the day, same type of thing. So Webull surprisingly has been very lucky to be kind of evading shorts. Aside from that, looking at the options, 3.7 million in calls, 1.3 in puts. 51% of all the options being done today are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 950 to 10. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 9 to 950. So at the end of the day, still not the greatest. These are some of the transactions occurring on the dark pool above $100,000. So given the fact that shorts are being this active, and even prior to this, they were increasing at the peak about 270,000, give or take. So it is fair to assume that most of these transactions are linked to them. And so dark pool is often enough used by shorts. But aside from that, with it right now at 913, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So this is the 1-day chart. Very, very strong support and resistance points. It needed to hold this 924, and unfortunately it did fail to do that today. So you have that 924 as the next strong target, and then $8 being the next strong support. So that's pretty much getting to earnings pricing levels, and so which caused a sell off to that 757. So at the end of the day, I feel given the circumstances, there is a little bit more pain, although clearly algorithmic trading is really moving Webull quite significantly. And with all the data coming out the rest of the week, such as for instance on Thursday, challenger job cuts, initial jobless claims, Friday PCE, Michigan consumer sentiment, because of all this, we might see the likelihood of a cut go to 100%. Right now it's at 87.2. So at the end of the day, getting a rate cut of 25 basis points would be a huge catalyst for the broader market and really push Webull higher, but still it would be a temporary patch. Management and Webull itself, they need to really shake things up, and they need to do it fairly fast, in my opinion. Aside from all that on the actual chart itself, so you do see right now it's currently above that 10-day moving average, so building a little bit of momentum, not out of fear's way because it is still below that 50-day moving average, and generally that's a big deal for growth stocks. Looking at the market position for today though, you see a little bit of willing sellers up until about that 950 for the most part, and then strong amount of buyers at 870. So this is where if things get a little bit worse for wear, you could see a push lower to 870. So again, you don't really see any willing buyers right now. No new analyst ratings, as I've already mentioned. And a lot of these I'm not really a fan of. So Rosenblatt, Northland, like I don't think those are credible firms whatsoever. But what do I know in life? So aside from that, like I said, I think just Webull in theory can succeed. It's just there is going to be more pain in the short term. So let me know your thoughts on Webull. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.